Local productions seen on Delta College Public Media are made possible with support from viewers like you. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to Junia Doan's A Spark. I'm Junia Doan, and thank you for joining us today. With me is Jess Atwell, Chairman of the Board of the Research and Development Company, CQ Simple. Welcome, Jess. Tell us the purpose of CQ Simple. What does success look like?
Originally, we began to, in the interest of helping small and medium-sized businesses to capture the technology that was available to large companies at that point. And we introduced a product that was very small, but it was our initial entry into the marketplace. It was a private branch exchange, which ultimately gravitated into a platform which is much like Microsoft Office. We put other business applications on it, and we've sold about 4,000 of them worldwide at this point.
Are there any complaints?
No, actually, one of the things about it that we started with was that it had to be robust, it had to be economic, and it had to be easy to operate. And all three of those things have been accomplished. We have not received any complaints worldwide at this point.
Congratulations. That is beyond rare. What it replaces, that I understand, telephone data and internet from different sources and combines them in your program.
We've been working for the last 5 years to get into a position to control all aspects of voice and data and telecommunications and transport of data and storage of data.
And you were commenting at another time how difficult it is to get visibility right now. Why is that so?
We're just starting to expose ourselves in the marketplace and tell everybody what we have. And the typical reaction of everyone in the world is always, so why hasn't a big company done this already? And the answer is, big companies don't move quickly. They don't move, in most instances, very far from where they've already started. A small company like ours is very nimble, very adept at capturing new concepts and ideas and moving forward with them quickly. Actually, everything we're using was developed in the last 7 years.
Impressive. So you were saying you were going to do something local to test it out. Can you say what it is?
Yes, we're going to enlist a local firm to help us with a beta test. And the beta test will be to prove our concept in the actual real world. Operationally, they would be functioning on a daily basis with it, and they would see the strength of it immediately.
So would it be restricted to people in our area or from another area who might want to come in and test your system?
We're hoping that we can get one here locally. We're working with a couple of firms right now to do it locally, but we could do it with another firm in the state without any difficulty. All we're looking for
you mean have
is
them
to
put in the system and then test it. Is that what you mean?
I'm sorry?
What you mean is get a company to put in the system and then test it? Am I correct or not?
Yes, that's correct. That would be the beta test, is the company would test what we're saying. Now, the beauty of this system is that once in operation, it becomes viral. And I say that in this respect. Once the company starts utilizing it, all of their suppliers have to utilize it too, and the suppliers of those suppliers have to use it. So it becomes viral very quickly. And so we expect that once we get the beta test started, it will accelerate substantially.
How costly is it to do?
It will be much less expensive than everything that's being done today to protect data and transmission of data. To give you an example, the marketplace for cybersecurity and encryption today is estimated at $27 trillion. One company in particular that we're aware of, Chase Bank, spends $4 billion a year to protect themselves from hackers. And in essence, we can probably do that for less than $2 billion.
So the ideal company right now is some of the not too many suppliers, so that you don't have to require that of the suppliers, that cost outlay, when they already have a system in place.
Yes, we would limit the size and scope of the test to be able to understand exactly what was going on and see if there were any problems that we hadn't foreseen.
I'm eager. How close are you?
We're very close. At this point, we're talking with several companies about doing it. And in essence, the word has gotten out. We have a European investment banking firm that wants a demonstration of it.
So let's say the Europeans did it. So, but could someone from New York or Boston or wherever, Detroit, test the system to break into it?
Yeah, well, we can check the system ourselves as far as trying to break into it. We don't have to have anybody else do that. We can probe their system and test whether or not it is functionally acting as it should.
You know, this is what's known as a thrilling concept, but a steep hill.
Yes.
No.
We're the mouse that roared. We have a great concept, and we're trying to figure out how to put the word out.
Now, when I was studying up on you a little bit, you're naturally entrepreneurial. You did it in two other situations. Tell me about one or two of the situations.
Well, it's interesting. When I started my career, when I got out of college, I quickly determined that the degree didn't do anything for me, that I could get a job as a retail clerk, and that was about it. And I went back to my college and I complained to the dean and asked and demanded my money back. And after he got through laughing at me, he said, "Well, Jess, what you're missing is experience. And you've luckily come to the right place. I have some connections that I might be able to help you with that." And he introduced me to a firm, a German firm, that had a program for college graduates that introduced them into their marketing program. And part of the process was undergoing an apprenticeship for 3.5 years to become a journeyman machine tool builder. And I went through that program, and at the end of it, was ready to go into the marketing group, and they unfortunately didn't have a position for me at that point in time, and suggested that they would like to send me to the library to research some technology that had been developed by the German regime during World War II, but nothing had been done with it since that time. This was 1968. And basically, I went to the library. I read a volume of books called How Everything Works, and then looked into the technology that the Germans had used, and it basically produced high volumes of steel alloy parts that were hollow, cylindrical, or cup-like, at high rates of speed, up to 600 pieces per minute. That had never been done before. So I asked myself, okay, where are these kinds of parts used? And the How Everything Works volumes, I looked at a drivetrain for an automotive concern, and I counted the number of parts in a transmission that would be that we could make for them. And there were 27 in each transmission. And I multiplied that times the number of transmissions made worldwide, and I quickly surmised that there was a potential for a business. And I went back and presented that study to the owner of our business, who was a lady. And she said, I like what you're talking about. Put together a team of people and go back to the United States and present this study to engineering groups around the country and see if we can't find some interest in it. And I did that. I did it about 100 times. And the last time, a gentleman shuffled up out of the audience, and his name was Alex Manoogian, and he shuffled up to the podium and asked if he could borrow me for 6 months. I had never been borrowed before, so I didn't know. And I went back to my people, and they said, certainly we will give you to him for 6 months to find out what he wants to do. He presented the opportunity for me to sit at the foot of the guru and understand how to start a business, how to organize it, how to focus it, and how to put it forward properly. At the end of that 6-month period of time, we went into a board of directors meeting, and he had me sit outside waiting for him. And at the end of 20 minutes, he came out with a yellow legal pad of paper, and he had written on it, Forming Technology Project, Jess Atwell, Marketing Director, $3 million investment, go, Alex Manoogian. And that was what started my career. I started a company called Forming Technology as a portion of the team. And we went from $3 million investment to $250 million a year in 2.5 years. So that was the beginning of my career. And since that time, I've leveraged that at every opportunity.
You are beyond a risk taker. You create the risk. All right, good for you.
It is fun.
What I'm asking myself, what did you learn from that experience? I mean, you were going to go in marketing, and then you got technical, and then you switched the other way, and then you got entrepreneurial by the library, conclusion, research and conclusion. How did that affect your future actions and endeavors?
Well, in effect, really, my last assignment was a consulting assignment in Argentina, and I was sent down there to develop a technology that they had interest in and launch it into the marketplace worldwide. I did that, launched the product, successfully introduced it in Europe, United States, China, and South America. And at the same time that happened, the Argentine economy collapsed, and I ended up having to transfer plants to Africa and China. And at the end of that time, I was very tired and said, it's time for me to go home, and I retired. I went home, and I sat in a coffee shop in Midland, Michigan, bemoaning my fate, thinking I was a big fish in a little pond. And the gentleman next to me had just gotten back from China, and the gentleman on the other side of the table had just gotten back from India, and the other side just gotten back from South America. And I said, I've fallen into a den of iniquity. We talked for a while, and they suggested that I get involved with economic development in Midland, and I did so. And I was director of economic development for about 5 years. And one of the gentlemen that I worked with during that time was Dave Root, and he is my partner now. But at that time, he asked me to take a look at their problems. And he had a telecommunications company which was in the middle of an economic collapse here in the United States, and he was having all sorts of problems. He asked me to take a look at it. I used all of my experience over the last 40 years, and I took a look at the marketplace from a 50,000-foot level, and I determined that the telecommunications industry was in a state of chaos, and that represented a problem, but it also represented the biggest possibility for opportunity. And I suggested to him that he was fighting the wrong fight. It was time for him to get into a situation where he could control things to a much greater extent than he had in the past. I suggested that he consider manufacturing some sort of product that he could introduce into the marketplace and would allow him the opportunity to begin to take control of his destiny. That was the first product that we developed, and he at that point suggested that we become partners. We have become partners, and we've continued the research and development, and now we're ready to introduce Argos to the world, which solves the worldwide hacking problem.
So what would you say are your complementary skills to his or his to yours?
He basically is an organizational man. He has an ability to organize and structure and put in place the support mechanisms necessary to make things function smoothly. My input into this is that I have the ability to recognize where the problems are and to focus on solving them and to begin to develop the solutions that are necessary to take it to the market, and then position the company to launch into the marketplace. Those are the things I provide.
So would you say you've done your part on this project by now?
Well, I think we've succeeded in developing the product. I've not launched it yet, so I have not completed my mission. I'm still looking to make that happen. I'm 77 years old, and I'm committed to this project. I'm not going to leave it until it's introduced worldwide.
Oh, I love that level of commitment. And why not? No. I am a big believer in staying interested, and as long as you have health and desire, run for it. Do it. It makes every day interesting. Don't
Absolutely.
you think? I think.
Absolutely.
Maybe I'm just pushing my philosophy on you. But life is a gift.
Not at all. I think we're on the same path.
Setbacks you've mentioned and opportunities, but it's really interesting. Really interesting. So I'm very hopeful that this project, this company, can flourish well. But your attitude of it's like just going off in the wild blue yonder. What were your family's values? What did they try and make sure you learned, or even by observation?
Well, interesting that you bring that up. There is a story behind that also. I'm from the South. I was born in Mississippi. My parents were sharecroppers. My grandparents and my great grandparents were sharecroppers. And at the end of World War II, my grandmother decided that sharecropping wasn't getting the families anywhere. So she divided her family up into two separate entities. One half she sent to Arkansas with instructions to buy land and farm. And the other half she sent north to Michigan to take advantage of the automotive industry, having jobs and having the opportunity to educate the children. I'm the first one of the group that from Michigan, and I'm the first one to have gone to college, first one to have gone to high school, and the first one to ever entered into business. So her decision was really was paramount in my success.
Prescient. And what's also interesting is the younger people listened.
Well, in that time, families were very close, and when my grandmother spoke, the earth shook. And she wasn't educated; she'd never been to school, but she knew there was a problem and she had to solve it. So that's stayed with me all my life.
Well, that's a big thing to start where you are and seek to improve it. Is that not what you're saying? That your grandmother's attitude was?
That's exactly right. I didn't elaborate on the half that went to Arkansas, but the half that went to Arkansas bought land. And back at that period of time, Arkansas was basically a swamp, and it was of no use to anybody. Nobody knew what to grow on it or do with it. So they got the land very cheap, and then they figured out that rice grew in swamps. And in figuring that out, they figured out that they could divide their property up into little plots of land and establish rice paddies. But then the problem came into view as to how to fertilize that rice. In Asia, fertilizing the rice is a big problem. They actually use their own feces to fertilize the rice in many instances. However, one of my uncles was looking at in the Mississippi River in the springtime, and he saw that there were catfish fingerlings in the river, and that they fed off of the bottom. and that he determined that if he put catfish fingerlings in the rice paddies and fed them, that they would defecate and fertilize the rice for him, and that's exactly what he did. That family owned and farms 3 counties in Arkansas now.
I'm so impressed with the originality of thinking.
Well, entrepreneurship is a strange thing. If you have a need, that you usually can figure out a way to use what you've got to get out of that problem and move forward. And that's what my family's done.
They must have taught you a sense of persistence as well.
It was a very strong relationship that we had. As I mentioned, Southern families, you had to stick together, because if you didn't, you wouldn't survive. And so, yes, they've given me some values that are very strongly and deeply oriented in me.
Do all your relatives have that problem-solving talent?
I would say yes. I think so. My brother is an engineer. He worked for General Motors for 35 years, and he problem solved for them for 35 years. So it's in the family.
Do you think it can be taught? I mean, your grandmother was a pioneer leader in this field out of necessity and desire. But are there other ways when people don't have it in their families that they can learn it?
Well, it's interesting that you say that. I mentor about 40 people. Over the last 10 years, I've mentored 40 people. And basically, I help them to analyze themselves and their strengths and their weaknesses, and put them together in such a way that they move their career forward. Out of the 40, 38 of them have taken positions of greater responsibility and have moved on and been promoted. But yes, I think you can teach it. I think you can communicate how to think about yourself, how to think about life, how to position yourself to take advantage of whatever opportunities there are.
And over what time period does it usually take, in your experience, to teach someone who's willing that?
I think you have to be practical. I don't think you can read it out of a book. I don't think it's something that can be generated with some sort of philosophical mechanism. I think you have to do it personally. You have to discuss what you're thinking and what the potentials might be personally, eye to eye. And I think that's the only way to transmit the strength of character that's necessary to take care of yourself the rest of your life.
Well, there are not many of you. What I was thinking is to ask you, what do you think of business schools now that you've said what you've said?
I think business schools, and I went back and asked for my money back, but I think business schools have a purpose. I think they do expose you to thinking in different ways about things that you've never encountered before. And I think that gives you a good basis to go forward and say, okay, I want to do something. Is there anything in my background that gives me some indication of how I might do that? And that's what the business schools can do. I don't think they do a good job of teaching character or ethics or drive and determination. I think they simply put the book learning forward, and all you have to do is regurgitate what's in the book, and that's what gets you through college. What gets you into entrepreneurship is learning that you can take risks and you can succeed, and you also have to take responsibilities for the failures that happen. They're all your own. When you're doing your own thing and guiding your own life, you have to understand that everything isn't going to be perfect. There are going to be problems, and there are going to be issues that have to be dealt with. And the only way to do it is standing tall and being counted.
One of the things I personally like about taking responsibility is that then I have say on correction. I don't believe in blaming other people or situation. Life happens. Look at this. We've got a virus, or a flood. But how we react, what we do, where the opportunity is really an important, because life is
really
unpredictable in a certain sense.
It really
but
is
not
important.
all laid out at all. Do you have children, may I ask?
You see me today before you. I'm dressed in a suit and a tie. I think we've lost some of our character and some of our integrity by abandoning the formality of relationships in business. I think the grunge look has not done anything to foster confidence in anybody. I think it's time to rethink what we've done to the business community and the business philosophy and character that are being put forward today.
What would you suggest?
I suggest that we stop allowing the dress code to be degraded. I think we have to begin with the way we look. If we dress properly, we act properly. And I think that's just the beginning. I don't think that's the end.
Thank you very much, Jess. I'm going to say a few words about what you said. I think you've given us a lot to think about, actually. One is the very essence of this company and the creation of a process that will be unhackable. I hope it has great success for you. And two, your families, let's improve life. Let's take the responsibility. Let's take the chance. And first in college, and they all go, that's so impressive. And finally, your emphasis on character and dress sets the mode. Totally agree with that. Anyway, thank you for appearing here with me and having the conversation. And thank you for tuning in, everybody. Remember, go out and do something kind for someone you know and someone you don't know. Do it every day from now on. See you next week.
To contact Junia, send her an email at juniadonsthespark@gmail.com. For more information, program schedules, and news about future guests, go to www.juniadonsthespark.com. Thank you for joining us. See you next time on Junia Doan's The Spark.
Local productions seen on Delta College Public Media are made possible with support from viewers like you. Thank you.